What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 154 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. In today's episode, we have another I'm a Hardscaper roundtable rally with 4 returning guests. We've got Matt from Hardscape Ottawa, Chad from Natural Design Landscapes, Caleb Amon of Amon Landscape, and Antonio of Zeppas, or a service for every season, coming in at the end here. Just going over some questions that came in through Instagram. So if you have any other questions that you want answered, go to our Instagram page, How to Hardscape, and just shoot me a DM. Any questions you want answered on these roundtable rallies from our returning guests, shoot them to me there. Or if you see a story asking for questions, you can always just add it in there. And we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Inlight Outdoor Lighting, for sponsoring today's episode. Go check them out at Inlight Design on Instagram. That's INLITE Design for some inspiration on outdoor lighting and see the products that they have to offer there. As well as Cycle CPA. They have a team of accountants that'll help you from bookkeeping to CFO services. So go check them out at cyclecpa.com and mention How to Hardscape to get $200 off. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
The product of running a solid budget, right? That's it. It's like I feel confident with those numbers. I don't really give a shit.
Right, sure. Yeah, so Canada, so you're probably, if you're at 40, if you're at 60-ish, that would put us in US dollars, probably 45-ish. So yeah, that's awesome though, man. That's awesome. Good for you. That's fantastic.
What's crazy though is like I'm not really getting any pushback on that stuff.
Yeah,
that's pretty because especially as I carry people through our design process and they really just feel comfortable with what they're purchasing. They don't really question it. They might change a bit of the scope or this or that, but it's I never get any well, this adds up to this much per square foot, then why is this guy half that? And it's well, because that guy's an idiot, so that's why. But it's yeah.
Right, that's a good demographic you're in there, right? And that's the niche demographic everybody, frankly, ought to be striving to go towards. We could get it. I could probably go to those markets, but goddamn, they're an hour and a half drive north of us, and we kind of weigh those costs of windshield time, and just the main thing that kills me on that stuff is, and everybody, but is my time running back and forth, selling jobs, dealing with changes, and that hour and a half drive, an hour drive, just to see one project, dude, just eats my day alive. So we're at the moment okay with staying. We're doing most of these jobs 10 minutes from our shop, maybe 20 minutes. So we're immediately on site and stuff. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, even at 45, though, it'd be way better. So we're always working on
how long he drives to get to some of his job sites these days.
Who?
Do
Chad. Chad, yeah.
My closest job right now is an hour and 20 minutes away. My closest job. But yeah, that's killing us. The fuel is nuts, right? These jobs are priced 2 years ago, and we can't recoup anything from the GCs or from the clients. It's so what they're trying to say is we'll eat this all together right now because these are locked in, these jobs, but on the next one, we got to go big. We got to recoup over the next 3 years, right? And I think a lot of the big clients are going to have a hard time eating that, but they're just going to have to, right? We can't lose anymore. Not that we ever lost, but we're not making the cream that we should have made on these jobs the last couple of years because of the fuel, especially right now.
Yeah, it's rough. That kind of drive work is tough. We do a bit of that for the commercial storm stuff we do, and yeah, all those jobs are about always an hour and a half away. And yeah, that's the road life that's tough, and it's incredible how much man hours gets eaten up in drive time. It's just unreal, the man hours and drive time, and trying to account for that and putting into just even a day or two off on that, you got 3, 4, 5 guys going an hour and a half away. It's nuts, the man hours that rack up immediately.
We shot up there on a rain day last week. We figured it wasn't going to rain too much, so it's an hour and a half drive to site. The guys got there, started pouring, waited in the rain 2 hours, got nothing done, decided to drive an hour and a half home. We lost the whole day, tons of man hours, tons of fuel, just some days that's contracting, right? Some days you win, some days you really lose.
Yeah, it's rough, man. That is rough, buddy. Are you going to stay with doing those kind of jobs that far away, or is that something you're going to shy away from moving forward?
No, it's there's great money in them. And I don't mind working about an hour and a half, 2 hours is our furthest. Like we'll stay overnight for that far out, but the money is great. Honestly, I'd rather drive an hour and deal with commercial clients than drive 15 minutes and deal with residential clients. That's just me, just my personal preference. Like whenever I come home, I'll answer RFQs or whatever, request for quotes, take me 15, 20 minutes, maybe an hour if it's a really big one. But that to me beats the hell out of pounding the pavement and going to see residential clients all night long and writing 2-hour estimates and 3-hour estimates and breaking everything down and phone call after phone call. It's I'd much rather drive and do the work than sit at home and answer the phone for residential clients right now anyway.
The drive gives you plenty of time to catch up on How to Hardscape podcast too.
That's it. Yeah.
And Kid Contractor podcast too.
I think I'm current with all my Kid Contractor there. That's something that we listen to almost daily. Between the two, this one and Kid Contractor, that's on every day in the truck.
When you're doing one of these jobs where you're driving much further, do you transfer like hours? Like, do you go to 410s as opposed to 5/8s or anything like that? Do you restructure how many hours you're doing a day?
What's the 410? Like
you just mentioned 8 hours and 10-hour days.
No, we're like 5 13-hour days. Like,
okay, so
you just try and squeeze every bit. Like, we leave the shop at 6. We're on site by 7:30, 8 o'clock. We're working till 4:35. That's an hour and a half drive home. It's satisfying as hell, like to drive home exhausted as shit. Like, it's really satisfying. Doesn't leave much time for anything else, really. But the guys understand it's springtime. Like, this is giver, you know. We go pretty hard in the spring.
All right, guys. I've got some questions that came in from Instagram here. If you're all interested, feel free to chime in with anything. Basically, I'm going to ask the question and allow you guys to basically put your thoughts in as you see fit. And basically, we'll run with kind of what we've been talking about here. But one of the questions is, how are you reducing costs or trying to reduce costs with installs, with everything rising in price? Say, you know, things are rising in price that you're on a job, or just gas in general, and maybe you don't have a clause in your contract that accounts for that. Or even if you do have that clause, how are you trying to reduce those costs in general on the job site with your installs?
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, it's like there's some costs you can't change and some you can, and it's really a lot of it is focusing on efficiencies with the team. Not to, you know, I can't change the price of gas. I can change how quick they dig a hole, kind of thing, right? I can change how well they lay stuff bricks so that it goes down right the first time. So it's a lot more about things I can control rather than the things I can't, and that's what I focus on. Would be my answer on that.
For us, I know we're being thrifty. We're being more thrifty with rebar and lumber, and trying to make sure we're really guys are meeting on site as much as possible, and not, you know, commuting in a company truck. And we've been trying to do that for a couple of years, but now we're really trying to make sure all our productive time or all our man hours as much as possible are on site. And so that's one of the ways we're trying to just beat some expenses, and which is what you should be doing in lean times and fat times too, right? And so it's not like, it's a shame it's what, you know, high energy and material prices force you to become, you know, more lean. But it's something we've been working on for a while, but it's really being driven home now, you know.
Yeah, we're taking fewer trucks up to site. It used to be like 4 guys in a truck, and now it's 5 or 6 guys in a truck because COVID disappeared, right? So I can cram them all in there. They don't have to be 6 feet away from each other. And just giving hell on the job. Like, we're probably 14 or 15 guys on this big commercial interlock project, and everybody all day is just as fast and efficient as you can. Like when it's time to lay pavers, there's 5 or 6 guys bringing pavers, and we're slamming them in. And we don't want to say quality doesn't count as much. Obviously, it always counts, but we're doing our best to pinch every penny as far as wages go and make it as efficient as we can on site.
So what little things are you guys focusing on? I think a couple of things were touched on there, but what little things have you focused on, not just this year, but as you've kind of developed as being a contractor, to help yourself plan and organize a job to keep it flowing as smoothly and as efficiently as possible? So not necessarily like this year, but for somebody just getting started or in their first couple of years, what kind of things would you recommend them to do to get that job running much more efficiently and much more smoothly as a starting out contractor?
Napoleon Bonaparte says logistics win wars, right? And for us, a huge thing we've been trying to be a lot better about is pre-ordering materials just to be on site sooner. And again, supply shortages were really forcing that more so. But for us, it was just a bigger issue of just trying to have stuff, where we needed it, when we needed it. And so that was a big thing for us starting really into last year and over the past couple of years. Like, we're really just trying to get our crap together, frankly, and be a better contracting business. And so just trying to make sure we got clients locking down colors and choices and all that stuff, and just ordering things ahead of time and having our contracts scheduled or, drawn out so that, when materials land in the yard, we receive a check and that kind of stuff. So it also kind of entices us or encourages us to get material on site as fast as we can so we can get reimbursed for it and things like that for us.
If I were to look back at, from starting out and where a lot of guys start out, I'd say like really just like focus on keeping yourself on the job site as much as possible rather than going to pick up materials, rather than trying to go dump. Like it doesn't make sense for you to be driving around with a truck and trailer. In fact, like you could actually run a landscaping company without a truck and trailer, buy an excavator instead. Realistically, the first purchase all the time, everybody, it's their truck and their trailer to get started. And it's really like, you're just only going to be about as half efficient as you can be because it's generally going to be you and one other person at that time. So, keep yourself on site, rely on subcontractors to move your aggregates and stuff like that. And like, regardless of if it's just you and somebody else, or if you're a company of 100, to have your suppliers deliver your paver materials, because like, holy crap, is that ever a waste of time going to pick those things up and sitting in the brickyard, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of like unbelievable to me sometimes the lineups that are in those places. And it's like, why? I barely stepped foot in them all season, sort of thing. Get all your stuff delivered, and then when you're done, have them come pick it back up too, because you get the refund on the products. Maybe you have to pay a little restocking fee, but you get a refund on the products, and it's just picked up and done, and you can just walk away. So keep yourself working on the site, and rely on other people to help you move stuff around whenever you're first starting out. Over time, you're going to want to, again, logistics win wars, right? So if you can control all of the logistics and have all of that in-house, things are going to go better. But at the start, that's just completely unrealistic with the amount of capital that would take. So it's you focus on getting other people to help you move stuff around at the first.
And I'll touch right on that too, I guess, with a little story. A couple of years ago, whenever we started in commercial contracting, I was on site on a little school job of probably a couple thousand square feet. And the estimator, who I'd never met before, he saw me on site. He introduced himself. I said, "Hey, I'm Chad." He's like, "Oh, you're Chad." It's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm building this entranceway. It's the school entranceway." He goes, "But why?" I said, "What do you mean why?" He goes, "Well, don't you have workers for that?" And I said, "Yeah, but I'm still a worker too. Like, we're a crew of 6 or 5 or whatever it is. And like, if I'm not here, things don't run as efficiently. And I just like to do it, right? Like, I can make this 2-week job into a week and a day job or something, right?" Like, oh, he didn't understand the concept of or the value of having the boss still on site, right? Like, I'm not saying, and some guys will say the exact opposite, like work on your business, not in your business, or all this stuff. But really, if you're starting out, you got to be there all the time, I think.
And that kind of leads nicely into this next question, which I'll just throw out there. And it kind of ties into Chad, when you and Evan were on the show last talking about equipment. Equipment or labor right now, especially when labor is so hard to come by. What would you be investing in right now? Equipment or another person that you can train up in your business in order to help you sell more, administrate more, or build more? This is more just of an opinion piece and where you are in your business and kind of the reasoning behind what you're thinking in your business. So equipment or labor, where do you stand in your business?
I got a pretty simple answer for that. Equipment will attract labor. Labor isn't going to make an excavator show up.
I've already got all the equipment that I need. So I'd say I could use a few good men. If they were going to be like A guys, right? I'll invest 70, 80 grand, 100 grand in a guy, because we already have all the equipment that we need to make things move smoothly. I need more top dogs on my side right now than I do equipment, just on my end of things.
I'm big in the machine camp, so we're trying to, and we're pretty close to mechanize the way we want to be. Got a couple other additions, upgrades, things like that. I think the comment made to the machines attract the talent, I agree with that. I think that if you have a rundown, raggedy fleet, you're not going to pull those top-notch guys in like Chad's looking for. So he's got kind of all the pieces in the puzzle, you know.
What are you trying to say about Chad's fleet?
No, I think
Do we really let that ride?
no. The way I meant that was like Chad's got the equipment, got the equipment set up, so now he can pursue the people, right? Because it's tough to pursue more talent with raggedy equipment. So he's got
equipment.
He's got the good equipment. He's got plenty of equipment. Now he can really say, hey, you're not going to have to kill yourself lugging pavers all day long and breaking pallets down with a mini skid steer loader. We've got the full size skid steer loader. We've got paver handling, machines, all that stuff. So attracting that better talent. And then even with that, like we got guys that can run this. So if we're looking for foreman quality guys, like, hey, I've got a crew that's half freaking competent as it is. Full, again, not directly aiming at you, Chad. I'm just saying like, can't take me anywhere and be proud of me, But if you got, if you're like, hey, we've got a crew of good people, we need someone that can lead them, and so we already got good people and we got good equipment. Bringing in those superstar foremen becomes a lot better prospect, I think.
Hey, I got a weird question following up on that. Would you consider bringing in someone with management experience and not the specific craftsman construction experience?
That's a great question. I would lean myself. They had better be. Their people skills if they had people skills that were better than both those other trades, I'd say yeah, because then they know how to navigate that shortcoming. If they don't, I would not. No, I think because you're right, they've got to have half a clue what they're doing in order to lead effectively. But if they're effective leaders and they don't know what they're doing, but they know how to learn on the fly and know how to navigate the PR nightmare that comes with that. Yeah, but you're right. They've got to have that. That's what's tough. Our industry is so tough in that regard. We've got to have people, and we've got to be so freaking multi-genre talented of work. It's insane how broadly we've got to be, educated or informed on all the different things in our trade, not plumbing or gas install or whatever. Like so narrow. Gosh, we're so freaking broad that it really, really requires a broad skill set.
And then to be able to have the people skills to lead as well. It's like, holy geez.
Oh, hey, and we want to lay you off in the wintertime, right? Like,
yeah,
just got the worst of everything. Yeah, so that's tough. That's where that gets challenging. And the real deal is, I think, with the labor market, the people that figure out the labor game are going to be the ultimate winners. Because you can buy machinery all day long, but if you can't figure out the labor game, you're sunk. And so the people that figure out this labor shortage, that they're going to be the ultimate winners, I think, within 3 to 5 years. Like they're really going to be the people rocking and rolling.
Yeah, as much as my answer was the machinery before, like the people is my number one focus right now. That's all that I'm worried about. I've got the sales, I've got the marketing, I've got the machines. It's just having the people, and you're absolutely right, Caleb. It's you win the people, and then you'll win everything. Because especially you'll build like a snowball, right? You start getting that big momentum, then people from all those other companies with all those rundown fleets start looking over the fence and seeing, that looks all right, and you see a big shift that way. So yeah, it's definitely you're right about that, Caleb.
Well, and too, if you've got good culture and morale, and he's not in the room tonight, otherwise I'd drop his name. But I know one of the guys that's in the whole HTH group there that has been pulling a ton of quality talent from a big time competitor in his. I'm using air quotes for the podcast. But he's pulling a ton of people from them because they're still, while they're a good company, they haven't mechanized, and they're still asking people to push wheelbarrows and mulch uphill and stupid crap like that. And this guy's pulling a lot of their talent out of there because he's got the equipment, their culture is pretty decent, and it's that trifecta, right? It's that easy and it's that hard in business, right? That's the worst. That's again the worst thing of it. It's all this advice is the easiest thing to do and the hardest thing to do simultaneously.
We also want to say thank you to Inlight for sponsoring today's episode. Did you know that one of the easiest ways to grow your hardscape business and increase your revenue is by incorporating low voltage outdoor lighting to your projects? Using lighting can take your projects to the next level, make you more profit, and add that wow factor and make your business stand out. As a professional hardscaper, we know you need reliable and high quality products to avoid callbacks and wasted time on job sites. That's why Inlight offers some of the highest quality lights and is the quickest system to install on the market. Their patented Easy Lock connector ensures that lighting will be the easiest thing you install every time. No heavy lifting, no massive machinery, just plug and play. Not only that, but Inlight also provides many educational resources like online and in-person training, installation videos, unbeatable customer support, and more. Everything you need to successfully take your business to the next level with outdoor lighting and beyond. It's one of the many reasons why I stand behind Inlight and many other companies that provide these educational resources to their clients, to contractors, and to help us grow our businesses. So for more information on how Inlight can help grow your business, check them out on Instagram at Inlight Design. That's at INLITE Design on Instagram. DM them to find out how to put more money in your pocket this season. We also want to say thank you to our sponsor, Cycle CPA. In order to make a profit this year, it is crucial to have an accurate accounting system in your business. Increased materials, fuel, and other costs will make it important to monitor your financial reports regularly. Without having this data each month, you won't know necessary changes in pricing or processes that may need to be made. At Cycle CPA, they not only handle the bookkeeping, but also provide landscape and hardscape industry benchmarking, job costing, financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA's team of accountants can do anything from bookkeeping to CFO services, and they are specialized within the hardscape and landscape industry. Visit cyclecpa.com and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. That leads me nicely into the question that I was going to ask, and I think you answered it there, Caleb. How do you guys get across to, if you're trying to recruit or you're trying to hire, how do you get across that you have mechanized, that you have this equipment and you should come work for us? Like, Matt, I know you produced a video. How well has that video helped you in that process? Or is this equipment, is this mechanization more so about retention as opposed to recruitment for you? And I know this will be different with every business, but thoughts on that?
So I never actually released that video.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I never put it out. That said, we've had some pretty good success bringing on some pretty great employees here to start off the year. Flush with them for once rather than desperate, which is an interesting place to be at. Just focused on keeping them happy right now. But it's how do I communicate that we have machines? It's exactly what we do. It's the headline of our hiring ads. Stop breaking your back. we've got this. What are you doing over there? Let's look over here. Grass is greener. And that's exactly how we advertise it is, why are you pushing wheelbarrows up a 2x4 into a dump truck instead of, getting taught how to use machinery and valuable life skills and things like that. So, yeah.
Chad or Caleb, do you have anything to add on to that as when you're going to recruit, how do you communicate that to somebody you're trying to recruit? Or do your employees that you have on right now recognize that the grass isn't greener on the other side with another company because of the equipment that they have available to them?
I'm trying to wait on Chad to talk so I don't step on his toes. Go ahead, Chad.
No, my guys know the grass isn't greener. They're more than happy, knock on wood, to stay where they are. Stay with me, stay with us. I try and tell them all the time, like, we're going to make this as easy. It's a hard job. Let's not make it harder by not having absolutely every piece of equipment that we need to make this as fast as possible, right? But at the same time, I'm not actively seeking employees, even though we could really use them. I'm leaning on retired talent that I used to work with in the past. Like my tree planters right now, average age that's between the three of them is 65 years old, and they'll still go harder than any of these young guys.
Probably do a nice enough job of planting those trees too.
Yeah, they're flawless, right? But the young guys can't hold a candle to those old guys, and it's great to see them work. So I'm not actively looking. Maybe I should be, because these old guys aren't going to be around forever. But I find that the applicants we do get are a lot of young guys right out of the heavy equipment training institute or whatever, and they don't want to put in any like time on the rake or time on the hand shovel. They want to go right to that operator position and almost use my company as a springboard to go work for one of the big GCs someday, I feel. And right now, my time is better invested with the old guys than it is teaching someone new on a shovel when we're so busy. But I could be wrong too, right? There could be some great young guys that really want to get on the ground floor. I just haven't found the right one yet.
I did run into a bit of issues advertising for machine operators. Even though it is our work is primarily done with machinery, it's still not enough machinery for them.
They don't want to leave that Kubota seat or whatever, or the skid steer, or they don't want to leave the backhoe or the dozer or whatever, right? But I tell them, if you put this time in now, you won't have to in a few years. You'll have these guys standing up the trees in the hole and all this stuff, and you can sit in the excavator and just wait. But
yeah, I like Matt's video. We had been putting together a kind of a I've been calling it a hype video, but it's kind of a commercial almost, if you will, of various projects or styles of work that we're going to email or send out to prospective clients or clients that reach out to us. It's just kind of hey, we're so and so and we do this, and 30, 60, 90 second video or something. It's just quick and all that. And I got to thinking about that of we should do that as an employment hype video too, right? And we would be putting that out as far as kind of to Matt's point of hey, this is the cool stuff we've got, and it's going to get better even. And if you're tired of pushing a wheelbarrow, you should come get behind one of these gas powered wheelbarrows we've got. Get in a buggy or get in a track skid steer that doesn't destroy the yard, so then you're not tilling up the yard to repair it. So we're doing, so that gives me that really drives me actually to I made a note here to actually get pushing on this the employee search hype video, if you will. So that's cool.
And Matt, if I could ask, why didn't you release that? Did your campaign to get employees work so well without it before you even needed to?
To be honest, I reached out to a few people just to get their opinion on it. And there was a couple of edits that were suggested by some people who very much respect their opinion on the matter. And I just didn't get those edits done, and then the season started, and it's just been flying by the seat of my pants ever since.
Makes a lot of sense. And I've got another good question. I think this may wrap up our chat, or we have a couple of others I could squeeze in there. But in general, who inspires you guys in this industry? And it doesn't need to be on Instagram. It could be somebody local to you. It could be somebody that just doesn't engage so much on Instagram, or it could be on Instagram, but somebody who inspires you, whether that's design wise, whether that's just the way they operate and run a business, whether that's they're just an amazing installer, the work they do, whatever. But who inspires each and every one of you guys, and why?
I'll lead off. What the heck? I mean, Mike, you've assembled a heck of a group of guys in the whole HTH thing here. The whole How to Hardscape group of people you put together and do these things with and all that. Everybody in there is doing amazing things in their own right, and everybody seems to have this amazing niche. Be it, Swihart's always thinking next level machinery, Andy's level of detail, Chad's. I totally agree with Chad on like commercial versus residential, and I could see jumping ship to that most days sometimes, and Hardscape Ottawa doing awesome projects like, and even you, Mike, doing all that, you got that niche in repair work, which is just crazy. When you build up a name for something, right? And there's so much good stuff out there on the internet to get. Almost sometimes to a point where it's like, man, I freaking suck, and so you got to be careful with that, putting yourself up against all your peers. Sometimes you're like, man, we got to get our crap together one of these days, but, so as long as you don't let it get in your head like that, and you use it as inspiration to like, man, we need to be striving towards being more organized like Andy, or getting into bigger projects like Chad, or whatever. And that's where I find, in the hardscape community, for the most part, really is a pretty darn good group of professionals, so that's not super drama laden or anything like that. So what an awesome thing to be part of.
Chad, you got something?
Well, obviously everyone in our little group there, that goes without saying almost. But I guess it's relative to everyone's area, but every time I drive by one of these monster civil construction companies, like down here we have Tomlinson and we have Kavanaugh and we have Thunderbolt and all this stuff, and you see these monster just rows and rows of triaxles, right? And they're dumping and they're loading, and they've got rubber duck loaders and they got track loaders and they got dozers and all this shit. Every time I drive by that, like, it never gets old to me. I'm like a kid, right? When it comes to that stuff, like, I'm just like, maybe we'll never be there, but maybe we can be maybe a tenth of that size and look just as cool as them. And someone smaller than me will look up to me and think, that guy's got it going on, like they did well. And really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, but it's also pretty cool at the same time to be looked up to by some of the smaller guys, right? So one day we want to be just a touch bigger, just a touch flashier, and look like we got it together.
It's funny you mentioned Thunderbolt, because their shop is right across the road from my brick supplier, and every time I go, it's just absolutely gorgeous building and just great yard and everything. And every time I drive by that, I go, yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to.
That's it.
But and definitely everybody, like you guys mentioned, like the group, it's great to have the people to bounce ideas off of and things like that, and see what everyone else is doing, all the cool innovation and stuff like that. I'm just so jealous all you guys steel wrists, so I definitely look up to anybody that has one of those.
It's almost essential. You got it.
But to come kind of outside of that a little bit is, and not to hijack this podcast for another one, but Dwayne Drawn and Josh Gillow, who do the Outer Spaces podcast, those guys are super inspiring. Like I definitely follow those guys on social media. I listen to their podcasts every week, and it's they not only talk about landscaping stuff, but also about like life stuff, and it's super inspiring to listen to that. Give you hope and ambition and et cetera,
And I did have one last question here if we had time for it, which was perfect with what you said with that life stuff, Matt. Right now we are in that busy season. Work-life balance. What does that look like for you guys with your families, with whatever you got going on personal wise? Do you have like I don't know, a set game plan as to, you know what, your family understands that this is busy season, it's all systems go. Like, how do you, and this is really open-ended, but how do you, work on that work-life balance? And Caleb, I know yourself and Brittany were on the podcast and talked about this a pretty good amount, but right now you two have such a massive project in running a business, but also having the shop going at the same time. Do you guys make time for, your personal relationship, or do you, say, you know what, where all systems go on this shop build just for this small amount of time, and then we can really, start to put a lot more time for us once we get past this moment? And I'm just rambling here to allow you guys to kind of think of as to what you would want to talk about here. But work-life balance, what does that look like for you guys? And any pointers that you could give somebody wanting to get into the industry as a business owner, or just starting and they have a family?
There's a lot to talk about there, and yeah. I think anybody is in danger of starting to ramble to try and even answer that a little bit. It's a tough one. I mean, work-life balance, that's what winners are for, I thought, but it's all systems go, right? But no, I mean, like there's that little voiceover on the TikToks that the kids are doing these days where the guy says, "Oh, I didn't want to work at 9 to 5, so I started a business. Now I work at 24/7." Like, fuck, like, yeah, it's basically like, can relate, to quote the kids on the TikToks these days, is it's a really tough one where, like, a lot of time you sign up to be a business owner, you kind of know that you're at least you learn pretty quickly if you don't know that that's not the same for you as everyone else in the world. So it's you kind of have to be willing to eat that to do more than everyone else in the world, which is most of our goal as business owners, right?
I broke my own rule of no work on weekends. This past weekend, we were trying to get this big commercial project wrapped up for the GC, because apparently they were having an open house that was supposed to be today and never happened. So, I worked Saturday and I worked Monday. And to me, I mean, weekends are pretty sacred. I feel like I've done my time in the first 10 years where we work 7 days a week or whatever. Then we can sort of ease off the gas. I guess I was wrong this year, at least. Thankfully, my wife and my daughter are super understanding, and I'm lucky that they're so understanding about the whole thing. Like, they understand. We'll make it up in the winter. We'll make it up on the days off and the evenings, all that stuff. It's really important to have the right group of people around you that are going to understand that as a business owner, it's absolutely not a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I would say this year, it must be written all over my face, Mike, but this year, our work-life balance thing has been really good for, I would say, probably at least 3 or 4 years now, where we've really prioritized, like, not working 80-hour weeks anymore and not, killing ourselves so bad. And then this year with the build of our shop, that's gone out the window. And we've kind of just accepted that this year is going to be pretty, at least this season, this summer is going to be pretty nuts, just trying to get that thing built. But what we try to do with the kids, our kids, like probably most of you guys are still pretty little, but they're 4, 6, and 8. And we try to just set reward goals, I guess, like when I'm not coming home till 9 o'clock for 5 nights in a row, and that kind of stuff, and I'm gone before they're up. We're going to breakfast tomorrow morning together. And so we're just trying, like, hey, we get through this first phase. Like, this last phase was really bad, pushing to be ready for concrete the whole floor. So it's like, hey, when we get wrapped up and the floor is poured, the next available morning or day, we're going to go to breakfast and as a family just kind of take it easy, that morning. And so we try to set some goal rewards, let's say, for like the sacrifice the kids make for, being with grandmas and babysitters or just me not even being here much. So we're trying to not break that balance thing too bad, or just show the kids like, hey, we make it through this. Like, it's kind of a short-lived thing, I hope, and we'll do something cool after or whatever. So that's kind of the thing that's been really challenging this year. And so the big thing, I think, like Chad was saying, or maybe it was Matt, I don't remember, but if you that first 3 to 5 years, you're gonna borderline kill yourself working to get that thing off the ground. I mean, if you can make it that first 3 to 5 years, you stand up, and if you're being diligent and trying to make sure you're actually running a business, like, you'll make it and you'll be okay. But don't kid yourself. That is a tough road to hoe starting out. So hang in there. It's doable. Just be smart about it.
Hey, props to both you guys too, to be able to do this with kids. Like, there's not a chance I would have time to have a kid in my life right now. Kind of thing. I have time for my dog. Like, it's so, like, to be able to pull that off takes a special bit of a balancing act, and it's not an easy one for sure.
I agree, 100%.
Takes a village for sure. It's not a one-man thing, right? Like, my wife is incredible with our daughter and my in-laws and my parents even. Like, it takes a village whenever you're so busy. Like,
100%. I think even without kids, like, having that supportive partner of understanding that, like, you're not out at the bars drinking, you're working your off to a better future for both of you, right? So it's making sure that partner understands that, and having that good supportive partner is fucking key to it as well, right?
Yeah, that's a big deal. I'll tell you, I got fortunate being in business so long, and probably like you guys too, but our business was fairly well established by the time we had kids. So I really tip my hat to the folks that quit a full-time stable job with kids to start their dream company. Like, man, kudos to you. Like, that takes some balls, man, to do that. And that is scary. I can't imagine starting a new company with kids and a mortgage and oh my God. So that's where the guts are, man. So I got fortunate. We were established. That was a little easier. The startups, my hat's off to you guys.
So if you're single with no kids, now's the time to put in the work to set that foundation.
Better believe it. You better get on. There's no excuse.
Right.
If you got that kind of time, there's no excuse to kill
it.
And Antonio from Zeppa's has joined us at the end here for our final question. Antonio, we've been talking about work-life balance. Antonio, what advice would you give somebody working out there?
Dude, I'm still at work, so if that gives you any idea about work-life balance.
So do you have any advice you'd give to somebody out there working on implementing some sort of work-life balance into their business? Family, kids, married, how do they work on work-life balance in their business?
Man, it's difficult. I caught the tail end of you guys talking before I hopped on, but yeah, definitely a little bit different when you don't have any kids and stuff like that. I've got 4 kids, and so it's hard, man, to turn it on and turn it off. But I just got done reading this book called The One Thing, and it just kind of really helps you focus on that one thing at work as well as home. And I'd highly recommend it. It's written by the guy from Keller Williams. You got it, the real estate company. But it basically talks about, like, the premise of the book is basically like, what's the one thing? It talks in the beginning of the book about dominoes. A domino can knock over 1.5 times its size. So in like 18, that's like the Eiffel Tower. In like 20 or 30, it's Mount Everest. And basically it talks about figuring out what that one thing is for yourself in your business, figuring out the one thing for your wife, figuring out that one thing for your family, and just chip away at it a little bit at a time. And that's where the dominoes, it talks about the dominoes, just doing what's one thing I need to do today to get closer and closer to my goal. So it's hard, man, with Instagram and emails and everything being at our fingertips, super hard to turn it off, but I don't know how to do it. I'm still at work. It's freaking 8:30. I'll probably be here for another hour.
He's honest, at least.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, guys, spending the last hour with me, with our audience, and providing value, I really do appreciate it.
It's probably... We've got time for one more.
One more question?
One more.
We've got installation questions from here on out, so it sort of takes like a big left turn here.
Open graded stone. That's the answer. Move on.
Lots of open graded stone questions. One quite specifically: are we as an industry moving away from concrete sand or setting bed sand to an open graded 1/4 inch chip stone? Do you guys see that? That's a big question that's come in actually quite a few times.
I think that's maybe like a weird question though, because washed concrete sand is a permeable setting bed still.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Technical here.
We're getting technical. We wanted technical answers.
But
Mr.
are we moving
Technical
from
comes
sand
out.
to 1/4 inch chip? I guess is their most important question.
I mean, I would say that it's a lot easier to work with 1/4 inch chip than it is washed concrete sand. So if you're thinking about making the switch, it's worth it just because of ease of use. But they're both going to do the same thing for you. As long as you're not using that dirty old stone dust, then you're fine.
Small access job practices. I don't think a lot of you guys do a lot of small access jobs, but do you have any Matt, I'm sure in Ottawa for sure. Any tips on this will be the last one, like really quick. If you have anything to add here, small access job tips, practices, anything that you would recommend to somebody getting into a lot of tight access situations in order to take more of the labor out of it and not have to do wheelbarrows or whatnot.
Haver King was saying an S70.
Gator bait.
S70?
No, not an S70. Those things tip too easy. Drive over a
Haver King
2x4,
loves
you're
those.
over on your side like Mr. Bean's car, like that 3-wheeled rig. It's no good. The MT100 does a much more wonderful job than the S70. But I think the person asking that question is aware that the in and outs is what kills the time on those things, sort of. So the answer is sort of right there, is whatever you can do to minimize your in and outs, which looks like, gator based. So you're excavating less, which means less soil in, less soil out, more material in. With that, if you have that MT, then you can get, it's not quite as easy as having our big S76 or your T64 that we have, where we can move pallets around, but you can rip a pallet in half and get that back there with that machine, provided your access is wider than the pallet, which you can run into. It really is just about minimizing your trips in and out, and that's pretty much it. Any way that you can think of, gator base being the best, or any sort of the other synthetic bases, of course. And then that's pretty much the best thing you can do for those, is really just like, if your problem is too many trips, well, find ways to reduce them.
Small access jobs covered right there from Matt at Hardscape Ottawa. Let's go around the table. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. Let our audience know where they can learn more about you, what you got going on, wherever you want to point them to. I'm going to start from my screen, top left, and work my way down. Caleb, Almond Landscape, where can our audience go find you? Where do you want to send them to? Any closing comments, remarks that you want to leave them with?
Hey, Mike, thanks for hosting this and putting us on all the time. Really appreciate that. Almond Landscape on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. You'll find us there. That's our jam.
And the Kid Contractor Podcast, of course, as always. And Chad, over to you.
Natural Design Landscapes on Facebook and Instagram. We're trying to get better at Instagram and showing stories and all this stuff. I'm having a really hard time. I'm having a hard time making stories with the show. Like, I'm always working. I don't know how some of you guys do it with so you're so heavy on the story. If I had my phone out that much, I'd be going nuts. So, but we're trying. So Natural Design Landscapes on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks.
Yeah, I can't do stories. I don't know how you guys do it either. On to Matt at Hardscape Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's Instagram's lacking these days, it's probably mine. I probably post one thing once a month, maybe, and then just repost Paver King's things whenever he makes funny jokes. But that's still probably the best online spot to get in touch with us is through Instagram. Check us out on our website, and also shoot us a message if you ever want to come crash one of our job sites. Check it out. Come say hello. So if you're ever in the region, I'd love to see you stop by and see what the heck we're up to.
And Antonio joined us at the end here. Antonio, where can our audience go find out more about Zeppas?
Yeah, Instagram probably. Our handle is a service for every season. So that's the best way to find us. Keep up with our latest
Awesome.
projects.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. We'll close it there. And thank you so much for listening. If you've tuned in for this whole entire episode, go check these guys out where they sent you and go give them a follow, like, send them a message and thanking them for anything that you picked up from this episode. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, InLight Outdoor Lighting. Go check them out on Instagram at InLight Design. That's INLITE Design. Let them know that you heard about them from the How to Hardscape podcast, as well as Cycle CPA. Their handle is Cycle CPA on Instagram. And once again, $200 off if you go forward with one of their packages for bookkeeping to CFO services. And we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.